Hello, today I'll be talking about James Bulger. Welcome to M&M Crimes. This is probably one of the cases that really, even today, still gets me, reading about it, hearing anything about it still fills me with so many different emotions, anger, upset, sadness. I'm even sometimes tearful because I just think about what little James went through. It hurts my soul. James Bulger was born on the 16th, 1990 and died on 12th February 1993. He was just shy of 3 years old when he was brutally killed by Thompson and Jon Venables. Little James was on a shopping trip with his mother at a busy shopping mall in Liverpool, England, when somehow, and for that split second, that he was separated from his mother. Robert and John led him away to the railway line, where they tortured, mutilated, and killed him. Little James's mutilated body was found 2 days later. Robert Thompson and Jon Venables were both 10 years old when they killed James. They were charged and found guilty of murder and abduction and sentenced. They became the youngest convicted murderers in modern British history. They were released a few years later at the age of 18 with different identities. On the day James was abducted from the shopping mall, his mother had taken him out shopping. His mother had purchased some items at the butcher's and was at the cash register. So at that split second when she momentarily looked away and put her hands into her purse to reach out, she let go of her son. After pain, she looked around for her son and was unable to find him. You can imagine she became frantic with fear, running around looking for him. John and Robert happened to be at the same mall at the same time, as they were playing truant from school on that day, as they always did. They were captured on CCTV camera, hunting for a victim. The cameras captured them stealing items from various shops. In fact, another father came along and confirmed that they tried to approach his son at the time. During questioning, the boys revealed that they had planned to abduct a child and take the child to a busy road and push that child onto oncoming traffic. It seemed they were excited with the thought of injuring or even killing a child. They had evil on their minds and nothing was going to stop them. They were determined to carry out their plan no matter what. Upon coming across little James, who was alone, they must have thought they had hit the jackpot. They knew that this was their chance to carry out their long planned that they had planned for a long time. James was a perfect victim, as he was alone, he was young, easily trusting. They quickly gained his trust and led him away from the mall. CCTV images shows one of the boys holding James's hand as he walked away from the mall. They started their torturous journey with him, first taking him to the canal where they dropped him on his head. He suffered multiple injuries due to that fall. They then contemplated whether to throw him into the river, but for some reason they changed their minds and instead continued walking him to multiple different locations. James at this point was tired, hysterical. This was reported by a witness who confirmed that he had seen John and Robert with James at a certain point in the day. James must have been scared and confused. That did not affect them or jade them at all. They still continued with their plan. They even walked little James as far as 40 kilometres. He must have been crying for his mother and probably confused as to why she wasn't there to help him. Apparently, lots of people had seen them with James, and when confronted, John and Robert had simply given the excuse that James was their brother. Eventually, when they got tired and bored, Robert and John took James to the railway line, where they continued torturing him by throwing paint in his eye, kicking him repeatedly, stamping on him, on his head, throwing stones and bricks at him. They even inserted batteries in his mouth and anus. They finally then threw a 10-kilogram weight on this little boy that was helpless. When James' body was found, he had so many injuries, including 10 different skull fractures. They may even have sexually assaulted the little boy, as his clothes had been removed. However, they still deny this aspect of the crime. After killing James, John and Robert laid his body across the railway tracks and weighted his head down with bricks in the hopes that a train would hit him, finish off the job for them, and it would appear to be an accident. One of the most horrific aspects of this is that James may have in fact been alive when he was laid on the tracks with heavy bricks on his head while they waited for a train to run over his body. A forensic pathologist, however, testified that James had died before he was struck by the train. The most heartbreaking thing about this story to me is just the way that little boy was tortured and then eventually killed by children. They were just children themselves. And I think that is what will resonate with so many people, is that we don't expect children as young as 10 to carry out such brutal, cold-blooded murder. But this is what these two did. It's obvious that John and Robert would have gone on to kill again and again and again if they hadn't been caught. That's where I end it. Rest in peace, James. Thank you for joining me today, and hope that you join us again for the next one. And please like our videos, subscribe, and then we'll see you again for the next one.